Welcome back to Study Hall. Ready to satisfy those curious minds with another deep dive?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I love this stuff.
I love it too.
So today,
It's fun.
we're going to be tackling a topic that is both ancient and enduring, the history of board games.
Yeah.
We've got this fantastic source document
Yeah.
that traces their evolution from pretty much
Pretty much,
the
yeah.
dawn of civilization to
Yeah.
the games that
Today?
we know and love today.
Yeah. That's interesting.
What's fascinating to me
Yeah.
is that these games kind of offer us a glimpse into the past.
Oh, yeah.
We're not just talking about rules and pieces here, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about like
It's a
cultural value,
reflection of culture.
beliefs,
Yeah.
even military strategies
Yeah.
that are reflected in these games that people played centuries ago.
Thousands of years ago. Yeah.
Thousands of years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
It's amazing.
what we can learn. Yeah, it's like each game is a time capsule,
Yeah.
preserving this little piece of history.
Totally.
So let's crack open one of these capsules
All right.
and travel back to ancient Egypt
Okay.
around 3100 BCE
3100 BCE.
to a game called Senet.
Senet. Yeah. So
Wow.
Senet was not just a pastime in ancient Egypt. It was really like deeply intertwined with their beliefs about the afterlife.
Oh, wow.
Archaeologists have found Senet boards and pieces in tombs,
Wow.
which leads some to believe that the game was actually meant to
Wow.
help guide souls through the underworld.
So it's like a mystical game board
Yeah.
for navigating the afterlife.
It seems that way,
That's a lot more profound
right?
than the games I usually play.
Than Monopoly or
Yeah, exactly.
something like that.
Do we know anything about how Senet was actually played?
Unfortunately, the exact rules are lost to time.
No, bummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some ideas based on,
Yeah.
the board layout and
Yeah.
archaeological findings.
Okay.
But a lot of it remains a mystery.
okay.
But even without knowing the exact rules, the fact that they buried it with their dead
Yeah.
really says a lot about its significance in their culture.
Right, because it's like, it's more than just a game at that point, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a
a ritual.
ritual,
Almost.
a spiritual.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it adds a whole other...
It does.
Oh.
While Senet was being played in ancient Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
over in Mesopotamia,
Mesopotamia.
another game was taking hold,
Yep.
the royal game of
The royal game of
What do we know about this royal game?
So what's unique about the royal game of is that, unlike a lot of ancient games,
Okay.
we actually have a pretty good understanding of its rules.
Wow.
A Babylonian clay tablet,
Okay.
essentially a rule book from over 4,000 years ago,
Wow.
gives us clues.
Rule book from ancient Babylon.
Yeah.
Talk about a blast from the
I
past.
know.
What kind of game was it?
So imagine a game that combines racing,
Okay.
strategy, and of course, a healthy dose of luck.
Okay.
Players raced their pieces across the board
Okay.
using these kind of distinctive pyramid-shaped dice that you might have seen in like history books or something.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It's incredible to think that a game like that,
Yeah.
played thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
still kind of resonates with us today.
It's amazing.
I bet there are some
Oh, yeah.
modern board games
Of course. Yeah.
that have borrowed elements from that,
Absolutely.
right?
And while the royal game of was being played in Mesopotamia, far to the east,
Okay.
in ancient China,
Okay.
another game was emerging
Yeah.
that would leave a lasting legacy.
Okay.
Go.
Go. That's the one with like the black and white stones
Yep.
on a grid.
Yep.
I've heard it's incredibly complex.
It's considered one of the most challenging strategy games ever created.
Wow.
Its rules are deceptively simple, but the strategic possibilities are virtually endless.
Wow.
Players place stones on the board, aiming to surround their opponent's stones
Okay.
and control territory.
So it's a game of pure strategy.
Yeah.
No luck involved.
Pretty much not really.
Okay.
Wow.
Very little.
So I can see why it stood the test of time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's amazing to think that these three games, Senet,
Yeah.
the Royal Game of and Go,
Yep.
all emerged around the same time in different parts of the world.
It's pretty amazing.
What does that tell us
Right.
about our fascination with games?
Well, I think it speaks to a universal human desire
Okay.
for play,
Okay.
for challenge, for social interaction.
Yeah.
You know, each of these games,
Yeah.
while unique in its rules and cultural context,
Yeah.
offers a glimpse into that,
Totally.
into that shared human experience.
Like a common thread.
Yeah. And as we journey through the history of board games,
We'll see that this desire for play has manifested in countless forms, each reflecting the values and the beliefs of the societies that created them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity.
All right, good.
I'm ready to move on to the next chapter.
Let's do it.
In our board game saga,
Okay.
what awaits us in ancient Greece and Rome?
Well, in ancient Greece, we encounter a game favored by philosophers and strategists alike. Petteia.
Petteia.
Imagine a game discussed in the works of Plato and Aristotle.
Wow, Petteia must have been more than just a simple pastime.
It was a big deal.
What do we know about it?
Unfortunately, like Senet, the exact rules of Petteia are lost to time.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But based on historical accounts and some archaeological findings, we believe it was a game of strategic skill, potentially a precursor to modern games like chess.
So while the ancient Egyptians were playing Senet to navigate the afterlife, the Greeks were using Petteia to sharpen their minds.
Seems so, yeah.
I'm sensing a pattern here,
yeah,
right?
A little bit.
And as we move on to ancient Rome, we'll see how this connection between games and strategy becomes even more pronounced with a game called Ludus Latrunculorum.
Ludus Latrunculorum?
Ludus Latrunculorum.
That's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful.
I know.
What kind of game was it?
So imagine a game of military tactics played on a board. Ludus Latrunculorum focused on flanking maneuvers. Strategic positioning, essentially mirroring the tactics employed by the Roman legions.
So it's like a Roman war game?
Yeah.
But in miniature form.
Exactly.
But are they using this for like military training or just for fun?
Likely both. Archaeological evidence suggests that Roman soldiers actually carried Ludus Latrunculorum with them throughout the empire.
That's amazing.
It's pretty fascinating to picture those legionnaires, you know, after a long day of marching and conquering, settling down for a game that allowed them to relive their battles on a smaller scale.
It makes you wonder how much those games might have actually influenced their strategic thinking on the battlefield.
It's a good question.
Did playing Ludus Latrunculorum make them better soldiers?
Who knows?
That's a question for another deep dive, I suppose.
Another deep dive, yeah.
But before we get sidetracked by ancient Roman war games. You mentioned another game that emerged from ancient India.
Yes.
Chaturanga.
Chaturanga. The game that would eventually evolve into the game we know and love today as chess.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that chess, the game that's considered the epitome of strategy and intellect, has roots in ancient India?
It does.
That's blowing my mind a little.
I know.
Tell me everything.
Chaturanga originated in India around the 6th century CE. Its pieces represented different units in the ancient Indian army. And the game was likely used for both entertainment and military training.
So every time we sit down,
it's pretty cool,
for a game of chess, we're essentially tapping into a legacy that stretches back over 1,500 years.
It's incredible.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But how did this ancient Indian war game transform into the chess we know today?
Well, that's a journey. It takes us across continents and centuries, from India to Persia and eventually into Europe.
This is getting good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about those transformations and how chess became the global phenomenon it is today.
We'll get there.
But for now, let's pause our journey here and pick up the thread in our next session.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back in study hall, ready to continue our journey through the fascinating history of board games.
Yeah.
Last we left off, we were tracing the evolution of chess from its ancient Indian roots as chaturanga.
Precisely as chaturanga journeyed westward. It was embraced by the Persians, who transformed it into shatranj. Yeah, they gave the pieces new names, and most significantly introduced the concept of shamat, meaning the king is helpless.
So that's where the term checkmate comes from.
Exactly.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
But how did chess go from being a Persian pastime to becoming the game of kings we know it as today?
Well, chess reached Europe sometime in the 9th or 10th century.
Okay.
Likely brought there by Arab traders or returning crusaders.
Okay.
It quickly gained popularity.
Okay.
Particularly among the nobility.
Okay.
Who saw it as a symbol of intellect and strategy.
So playing chess was a way for the European elite.
Yeah.
To demonstrate their mental prowess.
Kind of like a medieval IQ test.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chess became a highly esteemed activity in royal courts. And its use in military education further solidified its association with strategy and power.
Wow.
Imagine knights
Yeah.
studying chess moves
Right?
to anticipate their opponent's tactics on the battlefield.
That's a pretty high-stakes game.
Yeah, high stakes indeed.
But while chess was flourishing in the royal courts, what about the common folk?
Right.
Were they playing any games during the Middle Ages?
Absolutely. While chess was favored among the elite,
Okay.
checkers, or drafts as it's known in some places,
Okay.
was enjoyed by people from all walks of life.
Checkers.
Yeah.
You mean that game I played as a kid?
Yeah.
With those red and black discs?
Exactly.
That has a long history, too.
Indeed, it might surprise you to learn that checkers actually has ancient roots.
Okay.
Possibly even older than chess.
What?
A game called Alkirky,
Alkirky.
which is considered a precursor to checkers,
Okay.
was played in ancient Egypt.
Hold on. Are you telling me that the same game I played with my grandparents was enjoyed by the pharaohs?
Well, Alkirky was played on a different board.
Okay.
But the core concept of jumping and capturing pieces was there.
Okay, so it's like the same concept, but a different...
A different variation.
Variation of it.
This ancestor of checkers eventually made its way to Europe, where it was adapted to the familiar 8x8 chessboard sometime in the 12th century.
So checkers has a pretty impressive lineage itself.
It does.
But I'm curious, did any new games emerge during this period? Or were people mostly sticking to chess and checkers?
Well, the Middle Ages weren't all about war and strategy.
Okay.
As we move into the Renaissance, we see a shift towards more recreational games.
Okay.
Games designed purely for amusement and social interaction.
Okay.
One such game that took Europe by storm was the Game of the Goose.
The Game of the Goose. I feel like I've heard of that, but I can't quite picture it.
It's a roll and move game.
Okay.
All about luck and chance.
Okay.
Players roll dice and move their pieces around a spiral track, encountering various spaces that can either advance or hinder their progress.
Okay.
Think of it as the ancestor of games like Snakes and Ladders.
Okay.
Or Chutes and Ladders.
Ah, now it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
Those classic roll and move games that we all played as kids.
Right.
So the Game of the Goose was basically a 16th century version of those games.
Precisely. It was a simple, engaging game that appealed to people of all ages.
Okay.
And its popularity paved the way for a whole new genre of board games.
Okay.
Focused on fun and lighthearted competition.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple games
Yeah, I know, right?
have such a lasting impact.
It is, yeah.
But I'm eager to move into more modern times.
Okay.
How did the Industrial Revolution shake things up in the world of board games?
Well, one of the biggest impacts was mass production. With advancements in printing and manufacturing, board games became cheaper and more widely available, bringing them into homes across the world. This era also saw the birth of a game that would become a household name.
Okay.
And a source of endless family debates.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Wow.
Yes, the game that turns friends into rivals.
Right.
And siblings into ruthless real estate moguls.
Exactly.
But what many people don't know is that Monopoly has a surprisingly complex,
it does.
and even controversial origin story, doesn't it?
You're absolutely right. The game we know as Monopoly actually started out as the landlord's game. Created by Elizabeth Magie in the early 1900s. Magie was a social activist who designed the game to illustrate the dangers of land monopolies and unchecked capitalism.
Wait, so the game that's now synonymous with capitalist ambition
I know.
was originally meant to be a critique of capitalism.
Yeah, pretty ironic.
That's fascinating. How did that transformation happen?
It's a tale of irony and changing social contexts. Maggie's game was initially popular among certain intellectual circles, but it was Charles Darrow, an unemployed salesman, who stumbled upon a version of the game in the 1930s and saw its commercial potential. He tweaked the rules, added some visual flair, and renamed it Monopoly, selling it to Parker Brothers in 1935.
So the game designed to expose the pitfalls of capitalism became a global symbol of it. It's quite a journey. That's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if Maggie would be horrified or amused by the game's success.
Yeah, who knows?
But while Monopoly was teaching people about the intricacies of buying property and bankrupting their friends, another game was emerging that celebrated the power of words.
Yeah.
Scrabble.
Scrabble?
Scrabble, the game that separates the vocabulary whizzes from those of us who occasionally need a little help from the dictionary.
Right, yeah.
I've always admired people who can rack up those triple word scores with ease.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Scrabble has its own fascinating origin story.
It does. It was created in 1938. By Alfred Mosher Butts, an unemployed architect who meticulously analyzed letter frequency and point values to create a game that was both educational and engaging.
So it was like a perfect marriage of linguistics and game design.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing how much thought and effort went into creating a game.
I know.
That seems so simple on the surface.
Right.
But its attention to detail paid off.
It did.
After facing initial rejection from publishers who thought it was too educational.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Scrabble finally caught its big break in the 1950s, becoming a global sensation. And speaking of global domination, let's talk about a game that brought world conquest right to your living room. Risk. Risk, the game where you can finally achieve world domination.
At least in your imagination.
At least in my imagination.
Right.
I remember spending hours plotting my strategic moves, trying to outmaneuver my opponents and conquer those elusive continents.
It's a classic.
Risk was a groundbreaking game when it was released in the 1950s.
It was. It was one of the first mainstream war strategy games. Captivating players with its themes of territorial control and global conflict.
So it was like playing out those epic historical battles on a miniature scale.
Exact.
I can see why it captured the imaginations of so many people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Risk's influence can be seen in countless other war and strategy games that followed.
Absolutely.
But it also paved the way for a new type of game that would revolutionize board game design.
Yes.
Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Catan.
Ah, Settlers of Catan, the game that launched 1,000 sheep trades.
Yes.
And sparked countless debates over resource allocation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I've heard it's a modern classic, but I haven't had a chance to play it myself.
Settlers of Catan, or simply Catan, as it's often called, was a game changer when it was released in Germany in 1995. It introduced a new style of gameplay that focused on strategy, negotiation, and resource management, all without direct conflict.
So it's more about collaboration and strategic trading? Than about conquering your opponents.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a refreshing change from the usual war games.
Right. Yeah.
In Catan, players compete to build settlements, roads, and cities on a hexagonal board.
On a hexagonal board, that's right.
The resources you need to build are determined by dice rolls.
Yes.
But the real strategy lies in negotiating trades with your fellow players.
Exactly. You need to be savvy, adaptable, and willing to make deals to get what you need.
It sounds like a game that requires you to think on your feet and adapt to changing circumstances.
It does.
No two games are ever the same, are they?
That's one of the reasons why Catan has become so popular.
Oh?
It's a game with simple rules, but deep strategic possibilities. And it fosters a dynamic social experience where players are constantly interacting and negotiating.
Catan's success paved the way for what are now known as Euro games. Right?
You got it. Euro games, which originated in Europe, as you might have guessed, often emphasize strategy, thoughtful decision-making, and player interaction over luck or direct conflict. Catan was one of the first Euro games to gain widespread popularity outside of Europe. And it helped to usher in a new era of board gaming that continues to this day.
It sounds like Catan was a real turning point in board game history.
It really was.
But before we delve into the modern board game renaissance and all its wonders, let's take a quick pause.
Sounds good.
When we return, we'll explore the factors that led to this resurgence. And take a look at some of the exciting games that are being created today.
All right, looking forward to it.
Welcome back to Study Hall, where our exploration of board game history continues.
Yeah.
We've journeyed from ancient Egypt to the rise of Euro games.
It's been quite a ride.
Uncovering fascinating stories and insights along the way.
We have.
And now we find ourselves on the cusp of the modern board game renaissance.
We are.
What sparked this renewed interest in tabletop gaming?
Well, it's a confluence of factors.
Right.
You know, the rise of Euro games with their emphasis on strategy and player interaction played a significant role. These games offered a refreshing alternative to the luck-heavy or overly simplistic games that had dominated the market for a while.
So people were craving games that challenged their minds.
Yeah.
And encouraged social interaction.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
We're social creatures, after all.
We are.
And we love a good mental workout.
We do.
Another key factor was the growth of the internet and online communities. Suddenly, people could connect with fellow gamers from all over the world, share their passion, and discover new games they might never have encountered otherwise.
Right. It's like the internet created this global network of board game enthusiasts sharing their knowledge and experiences. Did online platforms like Kickstarter also play a role in this renaissance?
Absolutely. Crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter revolutionized the way games were created and funded. Independent game designers could now bypass traditional publishers and appeal directly to their audience, leading to an explosion of creativity and innovation.
So it was like a democratization of game development.
Yeah.
Anyone with a great idea and a passionate community could bring their vision to life.
Exactly.
That's incredibly empowering.
It's been a game changer for the industry. Fostering a vibrant ecosystem of independent creators and a diverse range of games catering to niche interests.
Yeah, what about the games themselves? What are some of the hallmarks of this modern board game renaissance?
Well, we're seeing a lot of experimentation with new mechanics and themes. There are games that explore historical events, scientific concepts, literary worlds, you name it.
There's like a game for everything.
Yeah, pretty much. There are cooperative games where players work together towards a common goal. Legacy games that evolve over multiple play sessions.
Wow.
And hybrid games that blend digital elements with the traditional tabletop experience.
It sounds like the possibilities are endless.
They really are.
Are there any particular games that stand out as exemplars of this new era of board gaming?
Oh, there are so many. One that comes to mind is Ticket to Ride, a relatively simple but engaging game where players collect sets of colored train cars to claim railway routes across a map. It's a great gateway game for people who are new to modern board games.
I've heard great things about Ticket to Ride.
It's a lot of fun.
It seems like a game that appeals to both casual and seasoned gamers.
It does.
What about games that offer a more cooperative experience?
Pandemic is a fantastic cooperative game where players take on the roles of disease-fighting specialists, working together to prevent global outbreaks. It's a tense and challenging game that requires communication, collaboration, and strategic thinking.
Pandemic sounds like a perfect game for our current times, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It's a reminder that we can overcome challenges when we work together.
We can.
Are there any other games you'd recommend for those who enjoy a good mental challenge?
If you're looking for a truly immersive and challenging experience, Gloomhaven is a must-try.
Gloomhaven,
It's a sprawling fantasy adventure game with a legacy system, meaning that the game world permanently changes.
Wow.
Based on the choices players make.
Wow.
It's an epic undertaking. But incredibly rewarding for those who are up for the challenge.
Gloomhaven sounds like it's in a league of its own.
It kind of is.
A board game that evolves over time. Like an unfolding saga.
Exactly.
Yes, taking storytelling to a whole new level.
It's a testament to the incredible creativity and innovation that's happening in the world of board games today.
It's been an amazing journey.
It has.
Tracing the evolution of board games from ancient times to the present day.
Yeah, from Senet to Gloomhaven.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground.
But as we wrap up our deep dive, I'm left wondering, what does the future hold for this timeless form of entertainment?
That's the million-dollar question. It's difficult to predict the future, but I believe that board games in some form will always have a place in our lives.
I think so, too.
They offer a unique blend of social interaction, intellectual stimulation, and sheer enjoyment that's hard to find elsewhere.
It's that tangible, tactile experience, isn't it?
It is.
The act of gathering around a table with friends or family, rolling dice, moving pieces, strategizing, and laughing together.
There's nothing like it.
It's a ritual that transcends generations and cultures.
It really is.
And as technology continues to evolve, I think we'll see even more exciting developments.
I think so, too.
In the world of board games. We might see games that incorporate augmented reality, virtual reality or artificial intelligence.
Who knows?
Further blurring the lines between the digital and physical realms.
That's an exciting thought.
That is an exciting thought.
Board games that adapt and evolve with the times, offering new ways to connect, create, and challenge ourselves.
But no matter how technology shapes the future of board games, I believe that the core elements that make them so appealing, the social interaction, the strategic thinking, the shared experience, will always endure.
I couldn't agree more.
Well said.
At their heart, board games are about connection, creativity, and the simple joy of play.
Right.
And those are values that will always be relevant no matter what the future holds.
It's been a fascinating exploration of board game history.
It has.
And I hope our listeners have enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have.
I second that.
And who knows, maybe this journey will inspire you to dust off those old board games, gather some friends or family, and rediscover the magic of tabletop gaming.
Exactly.
Until next time, happy gaming, everyone.